plaintiff, Leslie Ben Brooks, was married to the defendant's friend, and he was the best man in their wedding. But after she divorced, she and the defendant started dating. Leslie's suing because she claims the defendant slashed her tire and burned her book collection. Defendant Scott Zoller admits that he flattened Leslie's tire, but says all of her tires were bald and he didn't want her driving on bald tires. So he only flattened one tire to keep her off the road.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
Okay. Well, Scott and I had dated back in high school for a little while, and then he got in some trouble and took off. So I started dating one of his friends. I ended up pregnant, and then he moved back. And
How long was it gone?
a couple months.
Okay. How long after he left did you start dating one of his friends?
A month.
Did you expect him to return?
No.
Okay.
He didn't say he was leaving.
Oh,
He didn't
okay.
call. Nothing. He was gone.
Really?
Yeah.
How long had you all been together at that point?
Year?
1 year, and he just disappeared on you.
Yes.
And showed up looking like that back.
No, back then, no. He was younger then.
Oh,
Yeah. I think we were 16, 17.
what happened after that? He came back.
He came back, and then I ended up getting married to
Another
our
friend.
mutual friend, not to him.
The same friend.
Yes. And then he was actually the best man at our wedding.
Good.
Yes.
As you all could
Yeah.
avoid falling out and maintain your friendships, good.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
more people
And
like y'all. Seriously.
we stayed friends for 10 years. He would come up and visit and stay overnight, go hunting.
Good.
Yeah, he would.
All right. Hold on. He stay overnight
Yes.
at the house?
Yes.
All right.
Even when my husband was at work, because he worked third shift.
Were you the better friend, or was he the better friend upon meeting? Were they like best of friends, or were you? Was he there as your friend, or was he there as your boyfriend or husband's friend?
So I assumed he was there because he was more friends with my husband.
That's what I was trying to get to.
That's what I assumed.
Oh, what made you think different later?
Because he told me different. That he
What'd
was
he say?
actually up there to see me. He just told me this when we got back together the second time.
Oh, okay. You found out later. Tell me how you
Well-
all got back together the second time.
Well, he did ask me to have sex with him while I was still married.
All right. You didn't tell me the answer.
To what?
Jeez. Now you gonna play crazy all the time. No, that mean you told him, yeah. You want to play crazy?
No, I didn't. No, I
Oh,
said no.
okay.
I said no. I said no. I said absolutely not.
Let me hear from you, sir. Give me some background.
Yeah, it's like she said, we met in high school, and I
You
guess
say you're a backstabbing scoundrel. Your buddy moved you
Backstabbing
in the house
scoundrel.
and you hit on his wife. I don't play crazy.
that was not all the whole case. I did ask her to have sex with us, and then
Us.
well, I did ask her to have sex with me, but it wasn't. I don't know how to explain it. She said no, and I never returned. I never went back there, and.
How long had you been staying with your buddy?
I would only go up and go hunting with them.
Yeah.
I wasn't staying with them.
yeah.
I would go up
His
and
wife.
visit and spend the
His
night.
wife.
Right.
And when she told you no, you left it alone.
Yeah, I left it alone.
How long ago was that?
How long ago was that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Well, 10
That
years or
was
something?
15.
Way back?
Yes,
15,
way back.
20 years.
15 years. Okay, and what's been going on with the friendship since then? Because you obviously he got a hold of your property and damaged
Did.
it. What has happened since that 15 years?
I got a divorce, moved on, and then I saw him on Facebook about a year after that and messaged him, and then we reconnected and been together since.
We didn't speak to each other for like 15 years, And then she found me on Facebook 15 years later.
And said yes.
Yes.
You say, why didn't you say that earlier? We could have been together for 15 years.
I
You
guess
say you're a backstabbing scoundrel. Your buddy moved
Backstabbing
you in the house
scoundrel.
and you hit on his wife.
I did ask her to have sex with us, and then,
Us.
well, I did ask her to have sex with me, but it wasn't, I don't know how to explain it. She said no, and I never returned. I never went back there.
Defendant Scott Zoller is being sued by his ex-girlfriend, who claims Scott slashed her tire and burned her book collection.
Why are you suing him today for the property?
Well, everything was great until COVID hit. I lost my job. Everything was still pretty good. And my kids wanted me to go up north. They live about an hour away from us. And they wanted us to go tubing down the river. And I wanted to go. He didn't want to go. And it caused a huge argument because I said I was still going. And
Where do you all live? What city, if you don't mind? I know I'm deviating.
we live in
to have
Beaver
a
Dam.
river.
Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, near Madison.
Okay, Madison,
Yes.
the main city.
Yes.
All right. Good enough. Go ahead.
Then the argument escalated. He slashed my tire so I wouldn't leave. And I left anyways and drove up by
Flat tire?
I had to pull over on the highway. A friend came and put a plug in it, and I drove the rest of the way to my daughter's. And then in the morning, the tire was flat. So I had to go in. I had to
And a
get a tire
doesn't
replaced.
quite cost $2,000. That's what you're suing for.
Oh, well, while I was gone, he was messaging me to come home, come home, come home. And I said no. And he said if I didn't go home, he was going to burn all my books. So I called the cops and asked them to please go over there and tell him not to burn my books. But it was too late.
Why do you think that was a good target for him? Why do you think he believed that would be something to hurt you?
Because I love my books.
Do you? What
I think
type
he's
of?
jealous of my books.
Okay. What type of books?
All different kinds, like
Novels or something?
novels,
Okay.
historical
Got it.
novels.
Sir, what do you say to this?
I don't know why she left with the car with the flat tire.
Did you flatten it?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Because all the tires were bald, and she was driving up and down the highway for days on end, going hundreds of miles on bald tires. I thought it would be best for her safety.
What's the matter with you?
So she
What's the matter with you?
I didn't think she would leave with a flat
with you?
tire.
What's the matter with you?
Well, with the COVID, and I was going a little crazy.
What's the matter with him?
I don't know. He went crazy. Your Honor,
lost
he
his
went
mind.
crazy. He did. He did. He did.
Do you know you risk her life?
I didn't think she would get in the car and drive away with it,
Well,
Your
once
Honor.
you saw her, did you all have cell phones?
Yes.
He had a way to call you on the cell phone
Yes.
and say, hey, I've slashed those tires and you'll probably have an accident. I'm sorry for everything I've done. Please come home. Or better yet, I'll leave. Did you do that? Did you call her and tell her that the tires
I
were
thought
slashed?
she knew that they were slashed.
How?
She watched me puncture one of them. And then we had another car sitting there that she could have took that had good tires on it.
Why didn't you just buy her some new tires?
At that time, we were like,
Instead of risking her life.
she lost her job and I was on unemployment and I didn't know if I was getting called back. So we couldn't afford new tires at the time.
What about the books? She didn't want her to read either. She was spending too much time reading instead of working.
I thought I was helping her out because that's kind of a hoarding problem, all
Pardon
these
me?
books.
Is what?
All the books that she has is, you move them and you move them and you move them. It gets sick of moving them.
So you burn them.
So I burned them.
Sounds like to me you needed to read them. Yeah. If your mind operates in that way, you don't have anything about minds or mental disorders?
Serial killers and
Oh, he's not quite that,
No.
but he might be at
Kind of
least
fit the profile. I'm white.
He's fulfilling a stereotype.
Ma'am. When you were with him, boy, was he the last man on earth? In town, was he the last man in Madison?
He made me laugh.
Oh my God.
He's
Laughter's good for your soul, Your Honor.
I'd rather read than to have. No, I'm just kidding. You're right, though. You are absolutely right. That's why you all see me having fun up here. So that we can laugh and enjoy our day. When you were with him, boy, was he the last man on earth? In town, was he the last man in Madison?
He made me laugh.
Laughter's good for your soul, Your Honor.
You are absolutely right. That's why you all see me having fun up here.
Defendant Scott Zoller is being sued by his ex-girlfriend, who claims Scott slashed her tire and burned her book collection.
All right, I'm gonna have to grant her judgment, $2,150. Go buy you a whole new set of books, all right? Judgment for the plaintiff. Have a good day.
Good luck in the future. Don't burn your girlfriend's books.
So this means that we can't get back together and maybe talk about it?
Probably not. Probably not.
I'm a changed man.
I don't know what to say. I still care, but I don't know.
Plaintiff Christopher Sewell and his mother Audra say Christopher was on Judge Mathis before trying to find his biological father, and he was devastated when the DNA results left him empty-handed. However, after the case, Audra confessed that the defendant may be his father, so he's back for another DNA test. Defendant James Stokes admits he and Audra had an intimate relationship when he was younger, but says he knew nothing about Christopher until 3 years ago. James is eager to find out the results of the DNA test today.
We are here to determine paternity, and I'm glad you all have come here. We're glad to be able to come together and provide that confirmation one way or the other. Give me some background on why we're here today.
Okay, thank you. I actually was on the show before with a young lady that I thought was my sister, and it turned out that she wasn't my sister, and that was a very hard episode for me, dealing with the information that she wasn't my sister. All my life, I've been looking for my father. I didn't know who my biological father was. I was raised with my mother and my two little sisters, and I thought that their father was my father at first, just growing up, because he was in the house. And after him and my mom separated, and he started to spend time with his daughters and not me.
What age? How old was
you? I had to be like 5 around that time. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I kind of first realized, okay, that's not my father. So when I maybe about 6 or 7, I have a memory of going to the courthouse and them doing a cotton swab, but I didn't really understand like what was going on. And then my mother told me that another gentleman was my father and that this is why they did it. But then after those results came out, he wasn't my father as well. So it was like just another heartbreak. So after that, I grew older, became an adult. I found out I had a son, and I went through a custody battle with my son's mother because she was claiming that I wasn't the father, and I believed that I was the father, and I just knew how much not having a father around for me hurt me, and the whole confusion of who's the father hurt me as a child. So I wanted to solve that right away in my son's life. So I was working with this organization in my community. They was helping me, take fatherhood classes and training and helping me through the court process, and come to find out he was my son. And I started, taking care of him and getting custody and placement and doing things with them. And eventually, through the course of that work, they had awarded me the Father of the Year award from everything I was doing working with them.
Okay. Well, let me say this. Congratulations and thank you for doing the work that you've done to become a father.
Plaintiff Christopher Sewell and his mother Audra believe the defendant may be Christopher's biological father. So he petitioned the court for a paternity test.
It's been my observation, and some sociologists / psychologists believe or say that people who go through childhood adversity with their parents, for example, there's so many children who were victims of parental negligence, in particular, or abuse for drug addiction, particularly with the crack cocaine epidemic, and now the opioid epidemic. And the children either go one way or the other, kind of extreme, or the other. Either they follow into the parents' footsteps and become drug addicts or even gangsters, street guys. Their daddy was a big dope man, so I'm gonna be a big dope man. Or they do like you do, they go the extreme opposite and say, because I didn't have a father, I don't want my children to be like this. I want to fight for my child. And men are not known to fight for their children, but there are many like you that do. So I congratulate you. And it probably started with you finding out who you were. You know, until you know yourself and you know your history, you don't really have an understanding of who you are and how society has affected who you are. And when I say that, some folks might say, well, where is he getting this from? I'm getting it from your neck, where you had the continent of Africa on there. Right. And we know that we don't know our ancestors. And what we do know is a horrible experience for our ancestors who were stripped away and their families were broken up. And so the legacy and the vestiges continue for hundreds of years before you break that yoke. Slavery was 300 years. So you can't expect the people in 30 to 50 years to have a different outlook on life, but you seem to have gotten a little knowledge of yourself and of your ancestry. And so that's one of the reasons, in addition to you not wanting to suffer the same plight or want your kids to suffer the same plight as you, that you are interested in being a responsible father. So I'm going to make that observation, because people just think that after slavery and the horrendous conditions in which we live and the current racism, that we're just supposed to be able to just pop back. And everything that happened to my grandmother and my great-grandmother and my great-great and grandfather and great-grand, that doesn't affect me. That had zero effect. Where does it stop? Your father? Does it ever? You know? So my point being, I'm proud that you have made that effort with your children. And how did you come to believe that Mr. Stokes was your dad, or who came to believe that?
Well, after winning that award, I was talking to my mother about just the struggles of dealing with my son's mother, and just like, you know, how could a woman do something like this? And, you know, this is crazy. And my mother, you know, burst out in tears and was saying, like, you know, I did the same thing with you. And I you know, we had a moment, and we had to really work on our relationship and have some honest conversations and deal with stuff. And I started working with the same organization that had helped me, and I'm working with other fathers. So as I'm doing this kind of healing work in the community and healing with my mother, I decided to, you know, take one of those tests, a DNA test type thing, to kind of see maybe where I might have some luck, especially after the last episode that I came on your show and I didn't have any luck, to see if I could have some luck. And I started to see some matches with Mr. Stokes' other relatives. And my mother was saying that it was kind of bringing back to her memory some of these connections. And we reached out to Mr. Stokes, and he was confirming that, yeah, these are my relatives, but we really didn't have enough to kind of know for sure if he was my father.
Well, let me get some background for Mr. Stokes. Sir, why don't you give me some background on yourself? What do you know about yourself? You look like your jury says.
Africa.
Oh, you got Africa too? Well, that's
Yes,
your
sir.
son. All right. There you go. You have the knowledge of yourself and your ancestors.
Plaintiff Christopher Sewell and his mother Audra believe the defendant may be Christopher's biological father. So he petitioned the court for a paternity test.
So go ahead.
I come from a very large, tight-knit family on both sides of my mother and my father. And I have myself been through multiple times of this situation with paternities and children. You know, as growing up,
What you mean? Everybody's saying that you their father? What you mean
Well,
you've been there
I mean,
multiple times?
you know.
How many people claiming that you were their father? Why you get all these people approaching you?
Well, I was
Daddy?
in the military, and the only thing I
So
really
was
did, I
Colin
was interested in.
Powell. Colin Powell was in the military too. He's one of the greatest leaders of our people of our time. Go ahead, don't put it on the military. Go
Well,
ahead.
growing up, that was my thing, either sports or girls. It wasn't much else that I was interested in. And I mean,
And you didn't get anywhere with either of them.
no.
You didn't play no pro sports.
Nah.
And I promise you ain't been married.
I've been married. I was
All
married
right.
for 20 years.
You were married. Now, okay.
Yeah, we just got a divorce last week.
Like I said. No, I'm just kidding. All right. And so that's the life you lived when you were younger.
Yes, sir.
And have you had any children over the years that you know are the results of your unprotected playing around?
I have
How
two
many?
that were from my unprotected playing around, and I have two from my wife.
All
And I
right.
confirmed those two, and I went to court, paid the child support, and
Okay. To
made
get
sure that they were
responsibility.
around my family.
Good. And I believe I'm a good father, but I ain't never heard nobody say I'm a good husband, no. You heard people say that?
Once or twice.
All right. I think Linda might have told me that once. Or she might have said that to impress her friends. I might have just been around. And then when she left, she said, that dirty son of a bitch. You won't do nothing around this house. Got me doing everything. He's sitting up watching ESPN and CNN, and I can't even watch my stories or my housewives. He dominates the TV. All right, so that's the only complaints I might get. All right, and I'm so glad to clarify that you are a responsible father, and that's why we're here today. Give me some background on your understanding and the history that might have resulted in Christopher being your son.
Well, me and his mom went to high school together, and in my unprotected playing around days, we collaborated on some physical things, and he did some ancestry stuff. And
Okay. You had an entanglement.
yes, sir.
You had entanglements.
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Couple
You
times.
collaborate.
Yes.
But how about some plain old sex? Whatever happened to that? All right. So in your collaboration, you may have had a child. And so tell me what happened. Did you all lose touch? And did you know she was pregnant? What happened? Tell me.
I personally didn't know. I went back in further deeper into the military, and I'm not sure what happened with her and things that were going on in her life. And when I came back home, we ran across each other. We just sort of chit chatted as, being schoolmates and classmates. We never even got into the topic of her having a child or me having children. And
Really?
she reached out to me one day and said, hey, I need to talk to you. And we went through that, and me and Chris talked. And
Went through what? She said,
the conversation that I may be the father of her child.
When? What year was that?
Like 3 years ago.
Okay. And she just called you out of the blue?
Yes, sir. Thanksgiving.
Did you ask why you just not calling me?
Not really.
You didn't want to turn it negative.
Yeah, I did. I didn't really want to.
And so what happened with you and Christopher after she told you that?
We talked, but then at the time I was going through with someone else about the same thing. And I'm like, man, I really, me and Chris sort of bumped heads, and we put it on pause, and then he reached out to me again, and I was still a little abrasive about the whole situation. Then I changed my mind. I was like, yeah, man, let's meet up. Let's figure it out and go from there, because I'm really not.
How far can you go back with your ancestors?
To the 1600s.
Wow. Whoa! How far do you all go back with your ancestry?
Well, if James is my dad, then I go back to the 1600s.
That's right. That's right. That's right. There we have it. All right. What else you want to tell me about Christopher? Any other discussions?
I mean, like I told Chris, he wanted a family. My family is like the mafia. Once you in, you in. Ain't no getting out. whether you are or not, you in. Ain't no getting out.
Well, you better hope this isn't your dad, because think you would want to get out the mob. Well, okay. I don't know if you want to get out or not.
Tune in tomorrow when Judge Mathis will reveal the results of today's paternity test.